Hey everyone, this is going to be a basic battle tactics overview that I've learned from just playing a couple raids in Desert Storms in Last War. I'm just going to run you through some things that I thought weren't very intuitive and I had to pick up through watching good players and, having to change around some tactics when you're not the strongest player on the server and you can't just whale through everything. And it's going to teach you how to deal with stronger opponents, weaker opponents, and everything like that. And I'm going to use this little color coding over here. So your base is going to be a blue Y and the enemy base is going to be a red E, just so you know for the visuals going forward, because I'm going to do a lot of different lines of different base stuff, okay? This is also going to be my first tutorial video when it comes to Last War topics. I did some coaching in Overwatch, so I would love to hear any sort of feedback on the content. If you're a more experienced player who doesn't agree with some of the information or does agree and can back it up, and then the content of the video, So if you want more visuals of gameplay or screenshots or anything like that, please let me know. All right, so first on the agenda, we're going to go over scouting and battle reports. This is really important because while you know what power you're at, generally or very specifically, if you did some prep work and looked at all of your squads in their garages, just to have a very clear idea of the exact power that you have no idea what the enemy's power is going to be at all when you TP into a battlefield or go on Desert Storm or anything like that, right? So how are we going to gauge whether the opponent is stronger than you, close to relevance with you, or is going to be underpowered against you? So a few things that we want to look at. First is their HQ level. Their HQ is pretty important because it determines their troop level, or at least the possible troop level that they have, their max. So if they're a level 24, like I just got to, they could have level 8 troops, and those are very, very powerful troops, right? So let's say you only have troops that are level 7 max, then you might have an extreme disadvantage against that opponent. If they have a bunch of level 8 troops where they can fill up a squad versus your level 7, that alone is going to be a huge disparity. Okay, so you want to be very careful against an opponent that's like 24 or like I think it's either 27 or 28, probably 27, where they can have level 9 troops, right? So if there's a level disadvantage on there, you want to be very careful and just assume the opponent is stronger than you, right? Otherwise, if their HQ level is the same as yours or lower than yours, it's most likely that you guys are at similar powers, at least from what you can tell. And to really make sure that they're of a stronger or lower power than you, you want to make sure that you scout first, because scouting won't tell you the exact power level of all their squads, but what it does is it shows you the level of heroes, and it does show you their tier. Now, of these two, the more important one is definitely their tier, right? So if you have, a 10 level higher Kim, let's say, because she's the strongest DPS in the game, but they have an extra star tier above your Kim, they're probably much more powerful than you, because the strongest DPS who's going to do the most damage to the most people is going to do a lot more than yours, right? So you want to be very, very careful of that. If they have way higher tier characters, especially the same characters as yours, then you are probably weaker than them. You need to put that into your calculation, okay? Because knowing whether you are stronger than the opponent or weaker than the opponent or generally equal to the opponent changes your battle tactics a lot, okay? So you want to know, am I stronger or am I weaker or am I generally relative? And then that's where things get very, very interesting. And to really see what the hero level disparity and the tier disparity is going to be between you two, you need to hit that big blue button when you tap on a base to scout the opponent. And then you need to go to your mail. And then you go to battle. And then you'll see something that says scouted. Let me change that D. Scouted so-and-so's base. You go in there and that'll show you all of this information. Okay? All right, so we're going to go over your tactics against an opponent that's weaker than you. So that's usually when your HQ is greater, and then your level and tiers are greater. And you got to watch out. You have to make sure they're not garrisoned by stronger opponents. Because if they're garrisoned by stronger opponents, it doesn't matter if you specifically are stronger than them because they've got a lot of defense on their side, okay? Now, there's a couple different factors that go into this equation of what you should do. All right, so let's say you just teleported to an enemy that you know HQ is lower. You've scouted them, you checked their level and tiers, and you know you're greater. Even if they have 2 or 3 squads in there, they're way lower power than you. You know, if you have a squad that's like, 5 mil, we'll just say 5 mil versus like, a 3 mil, 2 mil, you beat both of them 90% of the time because you kill this 3 million squad way faster than it will do its usual damage against something that's equal. And then you roll through the 2 million the same way, right? So this is way greater than just equaling the total. All right. So a really, really strong squad, like a 7.5 million, will beat a 4, 2, and 1.5 million every single time, without a doubt. If you've raided trains before, you'll see this. If you've done 3v3 arena, it doesn't go through each one, but if they could, this guy would just exit out, kill it, and not lose much itself just because it's so much stronger individually, okay? All right, so you know you're stronger. If nothing has happened between you yet, there's no squads being moved between each other. If you're stronger, send your squad in to attack. Your strongest squad first. If you are very, very, very much stronger, maybe you can send 2 squads, okay? So if you're very, very strong, you'd send both your squads, but I'd say usually, especially in alliance duels where you don't want to lose a lot of troops, because if they kill your troops, they get a lot of points too. So you're trading points and you want the least deaths as possible. Just send your strongest squad. All right. So you're going to send strongest squad against them. Right. And now a few things could happen. They could just do nothing. You hit them, you burn them, you get a good battle. And then your squad starts to return. And then you can tap on attacking this person again. Right? Tap the attack. Tap your strongest squad. And then you get to check the troop amount. You're going to see your current troops in the squad versus your max. Okay? So this is important to look at because every time that you hit somebody, especially if they're, not insanely far off in power level, you're going to lose some troops. All right. And you want to see, am I losing a lot of troops when I hit them? Or did I lose only like 10 or 20 or something like that? If you have low loss, you can hit immediately again before going all the way back to home. Okay? So, what you're going to do is as you get like 1 second away march speed, your squad gets a little bit out of the base on the map. You can immediately send it to attack again and it will hit very, very quickly. So you don't have to walk all the way back and then go all the way back in again. Okay? Now that's if you have low loss. And every time that you hit them on the follow-up hits, check your troop amount. Okay? Because the less troops you have, the more and more you hit. If you lost a little bit the first time, you're going to lose a little bit more the second time, a little bit more on the third time. because you're hitting with less overall strength, and they have the same amount of troops most of the time, because the ones you kill just go to their hospital and then more get refilled from their drill ground. So they're at max strength every time you hit them, while you're at a lower strength overall. So you can hit them like 2 or 3 times, check if your troop loss is pretty big. Once it gets to around like 60, 80, or 100, depending on the circumstances, I'd usually then let them get back to my base, refill troops, and then go right back again and hit them again. Okay? Now this is if there's just no activity between the both of you. Okay? So they're not responding to any of your attacks. You're just straight up attacking a base that's less strong with you, which will be a pretty common scenario when you're doing raids on alliances that aren't really active at the time. Usually we try to hit them when they're not all active. You know, just the best tactics. You lose the least troops, get the least retaliation, right? But if you send your attack and then they send their forces after, right? So if we're talking about an order, yours goes first and then they retaliate. You guys have the same distance between each other. What that is going to mean is that you're going to get there first, and then they're going to get there right after you if you just let the attacks go. Okay? So, there's 2 ways to handle this. If you see that and you want to kill them quickly, recognize that the troop that they sent to you is probably their strongest troop, and you sent your strongest troop, right? So you have less defense on your wall if you do have anything on your wall. If you want to just let them hit you because you think their strongest squad is going to be better than your second in line of defense, take everything off the wall. If you're just trying to rush them down. Empty wall, right? Which you can do by just tapping your base, tapping the little shield icon, the little plus, and just uncheck all of the boxes. All right, and leave empty on all of your squads, which most of the time you're doing anyways, but especially if you're just trying to rush them and you don't want to have massive troop loss, you can do that. And what's actually probably smarter to do, if you're doing this tactic, because you're going to do it after this anyways, is send your second squad and your third squad. You might want to do your fourth squad if it has some decent power, but that depends on how much weaker it is. And what this does is that they lost their strong squad too, right? So you're going to hit them with the first squad, do around 1k base damage. And I'm saying damage to their base, not just like base with no modifiers, just hitting their base. So they're going to lose 1,000 health. And as they're sending 1 to your base, you're going to go down 1,000 health as well. But you have your second and third going in. They're probably, at least your second, is going to win that battle, right? Because their strongest is out. So it's their second strongest squad against your second strongest squad. If you're stronger overall, you should have a stronger second squad than their second, right? And this is if they have them in the wall in the first place. Most people leave them off the wall. So then you're getting another 1k damage, and then another 1k on your third squad, especially if they have nothing on the wall and no garrison. Okay? So, if you do that first, they might respond by sending theirs, but you did it faster, right? And if you're equal distance away, you can just keep hitting them with all 3 on repeat attacks faster than they could do the same to you. So you'll ash them first and you'll win overall. Okay? Now that's the aggressive strat. That's if you really just want to base race them and kill them quickly and ash them. Your other option, if you're sending your squad and then they send their squad as a retaliation, you can tap on your squad either on that left timer part of the screen or tapping on them directly, but that can be a little bit more risky. Tap on your squad. There's a little recall arrow, and you can recall the troops, go into that shield icon for your wall, add that squad to your defense, your strongest one. Even if you want to play safe, your second strongest one. And then play defense with your stronger squads. So when he hits you, his squad actually just bounces off, right? His squad dies, and you get more troop kills than he gets on you because they lost that battle, right? And as they're marching back in shame and on fire, you can then send your main squad again, because he can't attack back with this squad in time, right? He can't hit your base after this. He just bounced off. So he needs to go all the way back to his base, refill on troops, and then send it out. And you're sending a squad that entire time, and then it's going to hit him. Okay? And then you'll burn him down. So that's the attack or defense strat. Okay? All right, so what are your tactics against stronger opponents in Wales of the like? So these are people who have an HQ rating that's higher than you, and their level and tiers when you're scouting are higher than you. Now, if they're intensely higher than you, like very, very much higher than you never really want to attack, because if they're super high, first and second squad will probably be stronger than you, not just their first squad. Okay? But if they're just a bit higher than you, right? Where you don't think their second squad is greater than your first squad, then you have some tactics available for when to attack. All right. So this is an unoptimal scenario because it's just a race for HP and they have the advantage, right, with their first squad, and they could send their second if they see you send your first and all that stuff, and it's not really great. But it's still an option because you'll get their HP a little bit lower, right? You'll get their HP down. You'll get a little bit of 1k health damage while they're doing their damage to you, right? And you could set it up for a teammate to kill off later if it's something like Desert Storm or anything like that. But if you're raiding in versus and you really don't want them to get troops or troop kills or anything like that, your best option is TP out late as possible. The reason for it being as late as possible is they have travel time when they walk to you, right? So let's say if they have like a minute of walk time towards you before they hit you, you want it to be at like 10 seconds left before they hit you when you go through your menus and TP out, because then you just wasted 50 seconds of time, right? You just gained 50 seconds of time from them, especially if they're a whale or a really big player that all of us are going against. You wasting 50 seconds of their time means they're spending less time hitting the rest of your teammates, right? And then you're not getting hit, you're not getting on fire, you're not losing a ton of troops, you're just TPing out. The best TPs to use for raids and things where you don't want to trade troops is random TPs. The reason why random TPs are so good is because they happen instantly. You don't have to go through the menu, get an advanced TP, or go on the map and double click an advanced TP and then check mark it and then go through it. And then it's in somewhere that's predictable around the area because you were rushing or anything like that. Random TPs are no thought, instantaneous. You hit the button, you're in a different location, and that attack on you doesn't hit. All right, it's perfect for defenses and they're very cheap. All right, so use them first. Right, advanced TPs are better for, switching up your position in the battlefield and everything like that. Okay, so use random TPs first as your defensive play to waste time. Now, optimally, when to attack a strong opponent, it's when they're on someone else. Someone or somewhere else. So, whenever enemies attack, 90% of the time they're going to use their first squad, right? Their strongest squad possible, right? So if they go to attack a teammate or go to a resource tile or go to an event or something and you notice that, that's a great time to TP in and then hit them with your squad while their squad is going out, and they don't have enough time to react and bring it back in. So then you're going to hit their second squad, right? And again, this is if they're not insanely far ahead of you, but decently far ahead of you, where you know that if you hit them directly head on, you're going to lose more troops. Okay? So when their squad is out somewhere else, not going at you, that is the best time to hit somebody stronger, without a doubt, right? And sometimes it's the only way to beat somebody, because if they're stronger than every teammate on the battlefield, then the only way to beat them is when their strongest squad is out of the equation, right? And anybody can jump into this, right? They go to your teammate, you hit them in the back, a couple of your other teammates hit them in the back. And what that does against smart players is they realize that they can't actually send their first squad out, right? So you'll see sometimes if an enemy is going out and they see you start going, they're going to pull their people back, right? So be careful. If you send somebody to them and you see that they just put their first squad back in there and they're stronger than you, you should recall yourself, go to a resource tile, and just divert. You don't want to hit them when they recall like that, because likely what they're doing is they're going into their wall and adding their first squad into defense, right? And then you're just going to run into a brick wall and die, right? And especially against raids and all that stuff, you're going to be giving them a ton of kills and a ton of points, way more than you're getting, all right? So you wait, you divert, you call back if they're playing defense, and you only hit them if their squad is going out to somebody else. If it's going to you, though, right? If it is going to you, if this is like Desert Storm or something where you don't really care about trading units and all that stuff, send all of your squads in just so that you can break down the defenses quickly, kill a lot of troops, and try and get more damage on them, hitting them multiple times. Then they can get hitting you and probably delaying and getting the second and third squad out after they react to you sending all three, right? If they're smart, they might sit their second back, but you're already getting hit and you're already dying in something like Desert Storm. So try and get your trades in, right? And if you don't kill them, they don't get base damage on you. They just kill some of your troops, and then somebody else can come in and help out and ash them for you. This is how you play against whales and how you play against people who are intensely stronger than you, which is the most frustrating part of this game, you know, where you can't just take them on head to head. They will always win one-on-one. Now you turn it into a 2-on-1 and you use their greatest strength against them, which is when they want to use their stronger squad. You are not hitting them while they're playing defense, and you're hitting them only when they can't use it, right? Where all of their investment went into making this squad as strong as physically possible. And usually the second and third squads are much lower, and something that you can take with at least your first squad. All right, last but not least, resource and zombie hopping is a pretty good tool for covering large distances across the map in shorter periods of time, right? So you don't have a TP, you can't get up close to the enemy right on their base and just start smacking them. So if you want to move faster, there's a good method, because the March speed is one of the slowest in the game. All right, even with all the upgrades, it's very, very, very slow, right? But going to a resource tile is much faster. It's very, very fast. It can cut the time into like a fifth or something. I'm not sure of the exact math, but it feels like at least a fifth. Same thing with if there's a zombie past them. What you want to do is you want to start the attack on the zombie, and then before you get there, tap on the opponent base and then attack with an extra T. And then attack them as you're sort of crossing the path to them, right? So if it's behind them, you want to attack as you're crossing the path, so you hit them immediately, right? And then it gives them no warning, no big red flash that goes across their screen, no timer, no nothing. It's just not hitting them to instantly hitting them. That's the best way to attack somebody. And if it's not behind them, right? If it's like your resources or your zombies, you can't get anyone behind them, and they're like down here or in front somewhere, you're still cutting a big portion of this 100 meters into a march speed. So you're gaining like, let's say 80 meters faster. So you're covering that much, much quicker than going across the entire 100 meters. All right, especially if there's mud. You know, mud makes everything slower. Capital mud. Slowest possible. It's insanely slow. Kind of screwed us in some events. All right, so keep in mind whenever you want to attack something, always, unless you're right next to the base, look for a resource tile, look for a zombie to hop on, and that'll cut the speed or cut the time out to be much quicker and a bigger surprise attack than giving a big red alert and giving them a notification on their phone that they're getting attacked, right? So you don't get retaliated as much. Yeah, that's the last thing that I want to go over. This is just very, very basic stuff with paddles that you can use on raids and you can use in Desert Storm just to make us all stronger and give you a chance against people who are much more powerful, because I know everybody struggles to know what to do against somebody who is just straight stronger to you. So this will give you a fighting chance and make you useful in a fight against all those whales when everybody else is dealing with them too, or if they're attacking you, so you don't just get farmed on versus day and they get a lot of points off of you, or you can actually hurt their base while they're going for other people or going to you and you can trade. Okay? So yeah, have a good one, guys.